Hi again, it's Paulette Loren, Creative Director at Rose Loren Bridal and founder of the Flower Crafts Academy. And in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a kissing ball made with a flower frill, made from the Clover Flower Frill templates. Let's take a look. Here's our kissing ball. The flower frill is about 15 centimetres wide or 6 inches. Here's our ribbon to hang it from, and we've got the decorative flowers at the bottom to dangle. Now here are the two packs that the templates come in. So the one pack has 2 of the small and 2 of the medium templates, and the other has 2 large and 2 extra large templates. Of course, this one is made from the extra large template, and here it is. So we need to put our template face down with the split facing us, and for each petal we need a square of fabric. I'm using nylon sheer curtaining, and it only needs to be a little bit bigger than the template. Now this fabric is really good because it doesn't have an obvious face or back, and although it's soft, it's still got a bit of body. So we fold it in half, and then we put that down into our template. Then we fold over. Just make sure it's right down at the edge of the template with a little bit of gap each side, and then we fold over again, and over, and over. And there we go. Now we need to trim the fabric from the top. Now, yeah, just make sure that's tucked in nicely. Now you could use pinking shears for this. I'm just going to be using normal scissors though. Now the pointed end of the fabric over here, we're going to put a stitch through. And there we go. And make sure you've got a nice big knot with a tail. I'm just going to turn it around and hold that corner very tight because it's going to keep the fabric folded while we flip the template off. And I'm just going to put a pin through that just to make sure everything's neat and tidy and out of the way till we need to work with it. Now, we need to make 20 petals for this big flower frill, and it's just a matter of following the same process and just making a chain of the petals, just one after the other. So there's our second petal. Flip it off and pin. There we go. Now you can imagine 20 petals is a lot. So I want to show you a little trick. Every time you get 3 petals, put them together nicely, and there we go, pull the pins out. And then pin the 3 of them together. Not only is this going to keep it nicely out of the way and keep them neat, but it's also going to make it easier to count because you don't have to count them in 3s. But make sure that the petals aren't twisted when you put them together. They need to sit exactly alongside each other like this. There we go, 3 together. And pull the pins out and pin them together. Now you want them to slide nicely like this along the thread. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to pull the thread from the other side and it doesn't come out, and it's because I've got a petal twisted somewhere. So there we go. So I've got a couple extra there. 20 petals, you see it is a lot, isn't it? Now over here where we've got the knot, I'm just going to pull that out, keeping that knot right out the way. It makes it easier to tie these 2 ends together nice and tight. And it should slide out nice and easily because I've got all the petals lined up in order, none are twisted. Now let's get rid of this needle, we're not going to need that anymore. And go. And although it's not strictly necessary, I like to have all the petals lined up nice and neat. Just makes it easier when you're fluffing them out. There we go. And we need to tie a knot. And let's tie another knot. Probably the most difficult part is making sure the first knot stays tight while you try the other knot. And there we go. And I'll do a third knot just for luck. And trim the ends off. Okay. So there's a little hole in the center. The more petals you have, the bigger the hole's going to be, but that doesn't matter. We actually need that hole. So let's get rid of these pins now. And look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it just gorgeous? And it's not even fluffed out yet. So for fluffing out, each petal is still a little bit folded. It's just a matter of opening it up. So grab it from about the center and just pull it in the opposite direction, just like that. And it's just a matter of one petal at a time. And if they were tied up nice and neatly, it makes it easier to follow one petal at a time. And look at that. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it just gorgeous? And we're ready to go. So this is what we need. We need our flower frill, extra large flower frill. And I've got some Christmas decoration here. It was just a Christmas pick that I took apart. And I've got maybe a meter and a half of this metallic ribbon. It's going to curl nicely. And this is just satin ribbon, just as long as you need, depends on how high you want to hang it from. And of course a needle. So first of all, I'm going to take this ribbon and find halfway. I'm just putting a pin here and just leave that aside for now. And then with the metallic ribbon, I'm also going to find halfway. And with the one side, I'm going to make one loop and a second loop. Doesn't really matter how long, just as long as it's longer than the flower pick, shall we say. Now I don't want these two loops to be exactly on top of each other. Just let them, just bend them out a little bit like that on an angle. And then that's going to be one end hanging down. And then with the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make one loop. And again, just angle it. Because we don't want the loops to fan, we want it to be a little bunch. And then a second loop. Make them all slightly different lengths as well. And then bend that over, and on this side we will have another piece hanging down. Now I'm just going to put a few stitches in the end here. Honestly, you could just use a stapler if you wanted. It would do just as good a job. Just going to put a few stitches though. I don't want to do it too close to the edge. There we go, just trim that off. Because I need to thread this ribbon through one of these loops. And it actually looks like I might have stitched a little bit close to the edge. It's going to be tricky. What to do? There we go. I have just stitched the edge of the ribbon. And then I'm just going to pull it straight through. There we go. There is a way around everything. And then just chop the needle and thread off. And there we go. Pull it through to the center. There we go. Now we need to get our Christmas decoration piece, and I just need to attach this to it. So I'm just going to thread this through. There we go. So it's actually coming out through the center of the flowers. This is why it needed to just be a little bit longer than the flowers. There we go, that's going to be really pretty. And then we'll just tie this with a knot. There we go. Now this ribbon is, we're just going to get to the edge. This is going to actually go through the flower frill. So I'm just looking for that center. There we go with that hole. There we go. So I'm going to just thread it through and pull it out through the other side. That just goes through nice and easy. There we go. Now the trick here is that we don't want, that looks nice, doesn't it? We don't want it to pull right through. We need this to hang down a little bit so that the flowers are on the edge of the frill. So just position it to where you're happy with, and then just grab that there, because that is where I want the ribbon to stop and not go any further through. So I'm just going to pin that with a needle, with a pin, sorry. Now I want to be able to stop that going through, and how am I going to do that? With a nice big knot, like, what am I doing here? There we go. So here we want that knot to stop exactly where that pin is. I'm just going to pull it through. And there we go. That is perfect, right there. Right there. So we can get rid of that pin now. And I'm going to do another knot, because it's going to need to be a bit bigger than that. And let's see. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to try that, but if you need to do another knot on top of that to make it even bigger, go for it. But let's have a look. So when I pull that thread, when I pull that ribbon, like so, I want it to stop where the hole is, and there we go. Give it a bit of a tug. Yep, that's not going to go through. That's perfect. And that is it. Alright, so let's just curl these two strands which are going to hang. And that literally is it. There is our beautiful, beautiful fluffy kissing ball or pomander. And there you have it. How easy was that? Now, make sure you check out our other project tutorials as well, and make sure you get back to eBay and get hold of your Clover Flower Frill templates today. Happy Christmas crafting!